I found the last note 3 weeks ago, and I still can't bring myself to throw it away. It's folded into a small square in my wallet right now, and sometimes I take it out just to make sure the handwriting is real, that I didn't imagine the whole thing. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm 28, and for 6 months I took the overnight train from Portland to Seattle every other Friday for work. The 11:47 p.m. departure, arriving at 4:30 a.m., 15 passengers maximum, spread across two dimly lit cars that smell like industrial cleaner trying to mask something organic underneath. The kind of smell that coats the inside of your nose. On my fourth trip, I noticed a woman who seemed to be on the same schedule. Early 40s, gray cardigan, black canvas bag she never opened. She sat 3 rows behind me on the opposite side. I'm a chronic people watcher, always have been, and she caught my attention because she never slept. Just sat completely still, occasionally turning toward the window even though there was nothing out there but darkness. By trip 7, I realized she was always there. Same seat, same cardigan. It became a small game I played with myself, checking if she'd show up. She always did. It was almost comforting, this constant in a routine that otherwise felt transient and strange. Then on trip 12, I found the first note. It was folded impossibly small, tucked into the seat pocket in front of me. When I unfolded it, the handwriting was tiny and precise, each letter carefully formed. You have a habit of touching your left ear when you're falling asleep. The air in that train car runs cold, and I felt it suddenly on the back of my neck like someone had blown on it. I looked back. She was in her usual seat, hands folded on her bag, face flat and waxy under the reading lamp. I faced forward and did not touch my ear, though I became intensely, painfully aware of it. Trip 16. You dream with your eyes moving very fast sometimes. It looks uncomfortable. Trip 17. The scar on your right hand is from cooking, not an accident. You favor it when you carry your bag. She was right about everything. The scar was from a pan handle I'd grabbed without thinking 8 months earlier. I did still protect that hand slightly, even though it had healed. I started changing seats, boarding randomly, front, middle, back. It didn't matter. She adjusted too, always positioning herself where she could see me. Sometimes directly behind me, and that was the worst. I could feel her attention like a physical weight between my shoulder blades. The notes kept coming. In seat pockets, tucked into the bathroom paper towel dispenser, once inside the safety information card. Never threatening, just observations. What time I arrived at the station. Whether I smelled like coffee or mint. How I positioned my neck pillow. The exact number of times I checked my phone before putting it away. I thought about confronting her, but what would I say? She never approached me, never spoke. The notes were just true statements, written very small, folded very tight. Nothing I could call the police about. Nothing I could explain without sounding paranoid. On trip 22, I brought my friend Marcus. I thought maybe she wouldn't show up if I wasn't alone, or maybe having a witness would help me actually do something. She was there. Same cardigan, same bag, sitting 4 rows back. Marcus fell asleep within 30 minutes. That trip, no notes appeared. The next trip I took alone, I found 3, placed strategically, timed like she wanted me to find them in sequence. The last one said, "You're trying to catch me watching you, but you've been watching me longer." That's when it hit me, sitting there with the note in my hand, the wheels clacking beneath us and the overhead lights casting everything in sickly yellow. She was right. I had been watching her. Since trip 4, maybe earlier. I'd been documenting her presence, tracking her patterns, noting every detail of her appearance and behavior. I'd been observing her just as carefully as she'd been observing me. I couldn't remember who started it. The note stopped after that. 4 trips passed with nothing, and instead of relief, I felt something worse, like something had been taken from me. I'd catch myself looking back to check if she was there. She always was, and I'd wonder what she'd noticed that trip, what she'd chosen not to write down. Then she missed a trip. Her seat was empty, and the wrongness of it made my chest tight. The train felt too large, the space between seats stretched and unfamiliar. She missed the next 2 trips as well. On trip 30, I decided I couldn't let it end like this. I needed to understand. I needed her to know that I knew. So I did something I'd never done before. I got up from my seat while the train was moving and walked to the back of the car. My legs felt unsteady, and the floor seemed to tilt more than usual beneath me. I stood in the space between cars, where the cold air rushes in through the rubber seals and the metal plates shift under your feet. I could see through the window into the next car. She was there, not in her usual car, but 1 car back. Same seat position, 3 rows from the front on the opposite side. Same gray cardigan, same black bag. She'd moved cars, not trains. I felt something in my stomach drop and twist. She'd made me think she was gone. She'd let me feel that absence, that loss. And now I understood. She'd been testing whether I'd look for her, whether I needed her watching as much as she needed to watch. I pushed through the door into her car. The sound changed immediately, different rhythm of wheels, different quality of air. Only 3 other passengers, all asleep or pretending to be. I walked down the aisle slowly, my hand gripping each seat back for balance. She didn't turn around, didn't acknowledge me, just sat perfectly still, looking forward. I stopped next to her row. Up close, I could see the gray in her cardigan wasn't solid but a pattern of tiny darker threads. I could smell that unscented soap smell, and underneath it, something like closed rooms and old paper. I asked her why, just that one word. My voice sounded strange in the near-empty car, too loud and too quiet at the same time. She turned her head slowly and looked up at me. Her eyes were dark brown, almost black in the dim light, and there was something in them I wasn't expecting. Not fear or aggression or even embarrassment. It was recognition, like she was seeing something in me that she'd known would be there. She told me she knew I'd been watching her since trip 3, not 4, that I'd noticed her before she noticed me, that she'd only started the notes after she realized I was documenting her the same way she'd been documenting other passengers for years. She said the notes were her way of making me understand what it felt like to be seen that completely, to have someone catalog your unconscious habits, to know that every small gesture was being recorded by someone you couldn't confront. She said I'd started touching my ear more obviously after the first note because I wanted to give her something to see, that I'd been performing for her and she'd been performing back, and at some point neither of us could remember what we were like before we knew we were being watched. Then she reached into her black bag, the first time I'd ever seen her open it, and pulled out a small notebook. She held it up so I could see. Pages and pages of handwriting, that same tiny script, but it wasn't about me. The entries went back years. Different people, different routes, different observations. I saw dates from 2019, 2020, 2021. Hundreds of entries. Thousands of small notations about strangers she'd watched on trains. She told me she was stopping because of me, that I was the first person who'd ever watched back, the first person who'd made her feel what she'd been doing to others. She said she was sorry, but the way she said it made me understand she wasn't apologizing for watching me. She was apologizing for making me realize I was the same as her. I don't remember walking back to my car. I just remember sitting in my seat, the cold air from the vents raising goosebumps on my arms. When I got back, there was one final note in my seat pocket. I don't know when she put it there. Maybe while I was standing between cars. Maybe she'd planted it weeks ago knowing this moment would come. The handwriting was rushed, less controlled than the others. You learned me without permission first. We both need to stop. She was right. But here's what she didn't know, what I only realized as the train pulled into King Street Station and I watched her disappear into the pre-dawn darkness. I can't stop. Last week I found myself writing down observations about other passengers. A woman who orders tomato juice, a man stuck on page 63 of the same book. I caught myself taking out my phone to document the exact number of times the teenager across from me adjusted her headphones. I still take that train every other Friday, and I still check to see if anyone's watching me back. Because the real horror isn't that she was studying me, it's that I miss it. And now I'm looking for someone else who might need an audience the way I did, the way I still do.